But I'll record. Cool. So this antitrust me, bros. I will share my screen for y'all to see the presentation. Um, what is this? Antitrust me, bros. All right. So uh, we have a list of projects that we're going to be working on this week. Last week we worked on the re-rank everything application. This was like an extension to YouTube where you could change the algorithm to make it more chill for you. And what the sorry, what this today's presentation is basically surrounding is the four options that we have right now for this week, which I felt like all fit into a specific kind of mold and then kind of went well with the current politics surrounding antitrust and antitrust laws and how that pertains to us as coders. Um, so when we talk about antitrust in regards to coding and regards to the internet, we're looking at algorithmic opacity. And what I mean by that is this sort of like black box tech that we interact with on a daily basis. Um, we pick our group project today. Um, I want to show you sort of the worldview that connects these four ideas because they're not random. They're kind of four different views of the same problem. Um, so I'm going to lay out a little bit of the theory, and then the second half we'll go over the projects and um, I don't know if Tasia's here today, but one of the projects is Tasia's suggestion. So I was gonna open the floor for them to pitch it, but I think I know enough about what they're trying to do to pitch that project. So we're gonna talk a little bit about techno feudalism, tech feudalism. Yanis Varoufakis. So this idea of the old internet, we love the old internet, right? The old internet used to feel like a service, right? You pay your money, you get on Netscape, you get on AOL. Um, there's ads, but the deal is like simple. This is Web 1.0. You pay for a tool, uh, you're the customer of this thing. And now we've been kind of like versed in this new form of internet, where it's techno feudalism. It's feudal, right? And this isn't really hyperbole. It's like actually like what is happening with the internet right now. So economist Yanis Varoufakis, who writes a lot about like tech kind of stuff, wrote a book, Techno Feudalism. So the argument is we aren't living in capitalism anymore. Like in tech on the internet, right? That it's something older and like and worse, right? It's techno feudalism. So you're not the customer, you're the tenant. These platforms are kind of extracting our attention, our data, our creative labor, and then we build value on their land. We are essentially serfs of this techno feudalism worldview, right? Or this techno feudalism model, and they set the rent. Right now, it's through like subscription fees mainly. They can evict us, and so as coders, I think it's important to kind of keep this idea of like what they're doing. It's that simple idea of like, if you don't know what the product is you, right? But they flipped it fully into this like, this techno feudalism model where we're building value on somebody else's land. We're being extracted from every interaction, our attention, our data, what I'm doing right now, the creative labor that we put into stuff. If this ends up on YouTube, right, it goes to a social graph. That's the frame that they want to hold us in. And this is kind of the frame that I want to hold you in as a coder for the rest of the class to think about kind of how we combat this model, right? Are we familiar with techno feudalism in this class? James, Misha, Ram, have you experienced this in your interactions with tech? Experience this, yes. Yeah, it's and feel free to mic up too. I'm recording this for the future, but we're not streaming right now because I couldn't get it working.
Yeah, I've experienced this in personal life and like currently right now in my life. When words like the gig economy, um, a world without borders, like eventually, like the dead internet theory, like those concepts have been coming up and tropes in my actual life. But this is the first time that I'm getting like in somewhat academia version of techno feudalism. So I'm very interested in this topic because I am interested in combating it or at least preparing people around me for techno feudalism when they're still like people from the hood that like where I'm from. They have no idea what AI is like. Like, they're like watching the Super Bowl and like they're just going about their daily lives, not knowing that their lives are like completely changing. Like the future of it is changing and they're um not necessarily like not on the same train, but they're not making the same types of preparations as they think they might need. So
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's important to realize that I think that we saw a lot of sort of lip service done for AI in the Super Bowl ads specifically. And I think in this model of techno feudalism, right? Check out Yanis Varoufakis, right? This techno feudalism, what killed capitalism book. Um, uh, we have this idea in our heads that all the big tech guys are great capitalists, right? They're like they're like capitalists. They focus on money, and ideologically, they're actually moving way farther from capitalism and into like oligopolies or like kind of like they the way that they interact, at least in America, in American politics, it's very much not capitalism anymore. It is techno feudalism. Um, so yeah, with these Super Bowl commercials and stuff, all of these are applications. Like some of them are like business or B2B, some of them are SaaS, some of them are like social media platforms, right? But all of them, the goal is to extract this algorithmic rent from the serfs of the techno feudalistic worldview, and so these if you go to yeah, feature not a bug of capitalism for sure, but like even within capitalism that would be about capital, that would be about free markets, right? And like we've completely lost the plot. Like money is no longer the resource that they're going for. It's compute and attention, and then the market is, free market, theory, whatever. We're farther from that than ever, and that's, I'm not like this, like, oh, I'm a huge capitalist or whatever, but like this, it's not capitalism what the big tech guys are doing. Um, so, four walls that you can't see through. This is a little. So if you go to the voting site for this week's projects, what we are voting on, they all are kind of like solutions to this opacity, this opaque, this black box that's set up through big tech. And so the first project is this like TOS agreements project. Let me actually just like pull this up. Um, So on our democracy, so this project I'm talking about right now is Spark Notes for TOS, right? And this is like the legal opacity. Average big tech terms of service. I've talked about this in class before. It's about 7,500 words of legalese, right? Instagrams is over 10,000. So if you were to read every policy you agree to in a year, it would take hours, days, right? Two full work weeks, right? Nobody does this. Nobody reads the TOS, right? And they know that nobody's doing this. So inside there are all these mandatory arbitration clauses, just stripping your right to sue, class action waivers, data sharing provisions, unnamed partners. MIT's human-centered AI research group calls this a deliberate mismatch between what people think the system does and what it actually does. So yeah, grabbing some sided work because I'm realizing I'm talking about like a lot of journalistic stuff here, and I don't want to be like just like this is my opinion on this thing. But if you say MIT said it, there you go, right? So the next one is linguistic opacity, which is this like algo speak translation app, right? So I it's saying unalive instead of killing on TikTok problem. This weird double speak, 1984 censorship that we've gotten to. Platforms suppress words that they're not into, right? And then they won't tell you what those words are, but you can figure out if you're being shadow banned through like trial and error. You're getting demonetized. You're losing reach, and the workarounds that they put out are just weird, right? It's like we don't know if they put these out, like they slip them out into the public, or if people just like make them up. Like we're calling guns pew pews. Unalive for death is another one. It's gross, and it's weird, and it really is like 1984 level censorship. So a 2025 ethnographic study in the Journal of Science and Communication found that creators build these algorithmic imaginaries, which are folk systems about what the platforms want, right? So we are now, because everything is so opaque, we have to like we're making folk theories about how TikTok provides engagement to users, right? And then we reshape an entire language to match those that lore that we've made. And so the platforms don't even need to enforce these rules directly. Like I've seen videos where there's certain people that get away with saying the bad words and other people that don't. And it's like they're algorithmic, like we violence and other offensive materials. Like it makes sense why that would be suppressed to some degree on a platform that markets to children, but they like it, within their context, their systems just have to be opaque enough so that people will self-censor, right? They're trying to encourage this. They have moderation. They have access to AI moderation, but they're not doing this actively, explaining how any of that works, right? And then narrative opacity is Tasia's deprogrammed grandpa application, which is like the framing of opacity, right? So the same world events that show up on your feed are framed completely differently depending on which algorithm is serving it. And so there's engagement optimized systems that we've proven reward outrage. Outrage gets clicks, right? The Atlantic has covered this. clicks over facts, right? That's what they call it. So when feeds are tuned for engagement over accuracy, we're seeing that the extreme content, the rage bait content, always wins. And you're never seeing the framing layer itself. That's why we have state regime media like Fox News pushed to the front. And if it's not Fox News, it's like really intense, rage baity content that is in the same vein. So you're only seeing the stories. Your grandpa's only seeing what's going on Fox News, and it's already shaped by the time it gets to them, right? So and then production opacity is the last level. As content creators, right? We gotta be asking ourselves who gets to broadcast, right? So real live streaming with scene switching, overlays, professional production. That's mostly gated behind a desktop setup. And if you're doing it with TikTok, if you're doing it with Instagram, you're completely beholden to that platform's rules. OBS is a free and somewhat open source alternative, but you need a desktop to run it. They don't really have any interest in moving to mobile, right? So that's a huge barrier. A creative barrier too, because you have to use like third party platforms to stream mobile content, to Twitch, to Instagram, to TikTok. So the last project that can be voted on is this mobile OBS tool or some sort of mobile streaming tech, which I know sounds like a lot, but we have access to Claude, we have access to AI that can help us build any of these projects and well. So notice what all these Georgetown Knight Foundation's Better Feed report. This is for the fourth production opacity. Talks about how the asymmetry of who gets to produce content reinforces who controls the narrative, right? A lot of what we were building last week with Re-Rank Everything got into this sort of like who's making the content and what content actually gets pushed to your feed, right? So a big stat I wanted to show: 94%, 94% of people want to know when AI is shaping what they see. They want to know that AI is behind the algorithm. So this is a 2026 report. It's a recent report, right? It's from the Center News, Technology, and Innovation. Everyone wants transparency about this stuff. When AI is involved in shaping what you see, platforms know this number. Like TikTok, Instagram, Meta, YouTube, they know this number. They don't really care, right? The transparency on stuff like this is bad for business. So if you could see why a story was ranked first in your feed, a la our Re-Rank Everything app that we built last week, you might not click on it, right? You might not click on it because you're like, oh, wait, this is tagging the wrong thing. It's boosting the wrong thing. If you could see that your TOS, the terms of service, waives your right to a class action, you might not agree to use that platform in the first place, right? So the demand for transparency on all this stuff is universal. The supply is like below zero, right? It's a market failure. It's a market failure. And when we have these sorts of problems, we should be going ding, 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 ding. This is where our software is going to be getting built. So, the referees are in on it. What does that mean? So, a lot of stuff happened in this last week. So, I talked about Section 230 or the repeal of Section 230 by big tech, by Meta, by Google. They're pushing to repeal Section 230, which is not a great thing, right? When it comes to freedom of speech on the internet. As coders, this is something that we need to be aware of, right? Section 230 went into effect in 1996. It was the 230th section of Common Decency on the Internet Act or something. I forget what the actual act was that it's a section of, but it's essentially our First Amendment right on the internet. It makes it so that publishers don't have to take responsibility for the speech of their users, kind of loosely, right? So the idea is without Section 230, a site like Yelp couldn't exist, right? Because they would be getting sued to oblivion by all the negative reviews that people post about um, different services and businesses on Yelp, right? What do I mean when I say the referees are in on it? The people that are working in the current American administration want for the they want for the repeal of Section 230 as well. Right, you have Peter Thiel in JD Vance's ear. You have all these different lobbyists in Trump's ear. So somebody convinced Trump to basically force Gail Slater, who was the Department of Justice antitrust enforcer, lead on antitrust. This is an important job, right? DOJ antitrust lead resigns on Friday, this last Friday. What else happens on Friday? For some reason, Joseph Gordon-Levitt goes in front of Congress and testifies on the repeal of Section 230, right? And so Gail Slater is forced out. She wasn't doing that great of a job, but she was working to investigate Adobe, OpenAI, algorithmic pricing, AI facilitated collusion, stuff that's like really kind of important, you know? And now we do not have anyone heading these antitrust investigations in the Department of Justice, right? I know there's so much other stuff going on right now. So much other stuff going on with the administration that it's confusing to keep up with everything, but from the perspective of coders, of people who use the internet, of people who want to build things for the internet, this affects everything that we do, right? And it's almost like so confusing that they want to put it like into the back of people's heads, right? And so they're billing the repeal of Section 230 as holding big tech accountable. But really, what the repeal of Section 230 does is it makes it so only big tech can be present in the conversation. Because when you look at indie sites, indie applications, if you were to try to develop an application that had a community forum of some sort, or users that like with their own privacy policies, you could be slapped with a $50 million lawsuit, and nobody except for Meta, Google, YouTube has the money to be able to settle, right? So where does that enforcement go, right? And you might be thinking like, well, like if they repeal Section 230, it's going to give rise to like solutions, you know, like crypto or other spaces, Web3, right? And like surely someone's keeping check of these companies, right? That's what the DOJ's antitrust division was supposed to be doing, right? And Slater resigned, but they were essentially forced out, right? So she's been replaced by what's being called, and this is as of this morning, this is breaking news, right? She's being replaced by what's being referred to as MAGA antitrust. And that's a regulatory energy that has been put into power by, you know, the swamp itself, right? So, yeah, this is just kind of like strengthening the power of the fiefdom in techno feudalism, right? So the Section 230 piece, the legal interpretation is moving toward platforms being protected when they algorithmically amplify content, and having like less opaque feeds, but it's still, you know, it's still black box. they still get to decide what stays shielded. The only companies that have money that can handle these sorts of lawsuits are Meta, they're Mango companies, right? So what incentivizes this sort of approach to the internet, right? Feeds are going to get more toxic. Uh, Algorithmic amplification of like bad content is going to stay untouched. Like, I don't know if you've used TikTok since Oracle took over, but it feels like a different app. Um, so it's not really partisan. It's more structural with Section 230 and the DOJ antitrust league getting basically forced out. The system was supposed to check platform power, but the system itself is opaque, right? So the same pattern, just another level up with the American administration. So we shouldn't be waiting for someone else to fix this. We should be the ones that are like actively thinking about how we're gonna fix this. That's where the like, we're learning to code, but we're also learning why we should be coding. And this stuff, all this news is why we should be coding. Literally convince your friends to learn to code. Bring them into class tomorrow. Like it's important. Um, so the spine. This is basically the three-step diagram of what's going on here, the thesis of our class, so to speak. This class specifically: opacity, something is hidden. Translation is we as coders need to make it legible, and then agency. We either provide agency to other people through what we've just translated, or we take on our role as agents, not agentic agents, but agents in the further translation of these black box technologies. Um, so, step one, opacity. Let's dive into it a little bit. Something's hidden from you, right? These are the TOSs of the world. This is the rules, the language, the framing, the means of production, right? Step two, translation. Somebody builds a tool. We build a tool that makes the hidden thing legible, right? Not correct yet, legible. We just need to show what's going on. Um, Not like subjective either, right? Like, here's the truth. Like, here's how you should feel. Just here's what you couldn't see before, and now you can see it. We need to share reality with each other, essentially. And that leads to step three, agency. Is once you can see it, once other people can see it, they can make decisions about it, right? They can choose to agree to the terms or not. They can choose to understand what that coded word means, what this lexicon of algo speak mean. You can see the framing as framing instead of accepting it as truth, right? Um, and then you choose to broadcast your own content with that knowledge. So this is the shared spine of these projects. It matters philosophically because none of these tools are claiming neutrality, right? And that's what they use against us, right? This sort of like net neutrality. They're like, oh well, it's just tech, and tech doesn't have an aim, right? But these actually don't say like here is the truth. They're saying here's a tool to help us evaluate reality. And that's the crucial distinction that as coders we kind of need to get in this mindset, especially as we go towards this sort of like entropic um, techno-feudalistic state. You're not so much reducing the information to the right answer, but reducing the asymmetry between the system and you, the developer, and your users. So from consumption to production. If you line up the four projects that we're going to be working on, we're only working on one of them this week, but if you line them up, there's a natural progression that I thought was pretty cool from passive to active, right? Consumption to production. So step one, we look at the system, we comprehend the system. That's the TOS Spark Notes, right? Step two, we decoded signals. This is more of the algo speak dictionary world. Now that you know the rules, right, you can understand the language game that the rules created, right? Step three, we neutralize its framing. This is deprogram grandpa, right? We know the rules. We got the language down. Now we need to recognize when grandpa is being brainwashed and shaped by an incentive structure that we have no control over. That's state regime media, right? And then step four, uh, speak back, right? This is the mobile OBS tool. We've comprehended, we've decoded, we've neutralized. Now we're producing our own thing. We're putting out our own sort of content, right? So we comprehend the system, we decode its signals, we neutralize its framing, we speak back. That's our complete pipeline. And that's a coherent worldview. You know, this is reality. This is what it means to have agency on a platform that isn't designed to give you any, right? So moving forward, um, interception, not migration. We have four verbs from kind of like evolution of last slide. So a little another piece of theory, product philosophy, right? None of these builds for this week or the build options for this week are asking us to leave a platform. Just like re-rank everything was an extension on YouTube, right? We're not building alternatives to Fox News or a competitor to TikTok using algo speak or a replacement for YouTube, or a replacement for OBS. We might actually end up building something similar to OBS, but that just for the sake of this philosophy, roll with it. People are where they are. They are on these platforms already. The landlord already has the tenants. We need to explain to the tenants what their rights are, right? Um, so a browser extension like we built last week, it overlays it injects new affordances. A dictionary, like we might do with the algo speak thing, is translating in place. It annotates. Um, a summarizer like the TOS, it would be like kind of like a Wikipedia of TOSs, right? A Spark Notes of TOS. It compresses. And then the streaming tool helps to repurpose existing infrastructure. We have different verbs, same sort of strategy, right? We meet the users where they are. Like, we're not trying to convince anyone to leave TikTok, so to speak, but if we show people that what they're getting through TikTok is a distorted reality, it might make them think twice about using TikTok, right? And this is important because the biggest failure mode in ethical tech is when people start building these beautiful platform alternatives, right? And nobody uses them. Nobody uses them because they're already locked into Meta. They're already locked into TikTok. They're already locked into YouTube. That's where their audiences are. And we're not trying to do that this week with these project selections. We're not saying leave the bad place, come to the good place. It's more so like stay where you are, but have a lens, have a realistic lens. And none of what we put out there is going to be moralizing. It's more so reordering, right? And this is a solid design philosophy. I think we stuck with that with re-rank everything. And it's something that I kind of want to hit on when we are solving problems. Thinking about how we do that in a way that's not like this app is garbage trash state regime media and I'm going to make the ethical version of that. Because really quickly you realize oh, maybe I can't convince all the people from that app to come over. So the TOS Spark Notes app, um, this is about comprehending the system, right? Again, I've asked this question before and I'll ask it again. Who here actually reads terms of services agreements? Right? What's the last TOS you've read? Anybody in the chat?
When Adobe took away Flash for 2 days or what have you, and then gave it back. I did some terms of service reading then, and then like for school. But yeah, no, no one reads it.
And you know who was on that antitrust agenda against Adobe was Gail Slater. That was like one of the only things they were doing, and they were doing a horrible job at it, and they just got forced out. And it's like, God, but yeah, Flash is gone. Animate is gone. I used Flash. I started with Flash as a 12-year-old. And uh, yeah, now they're taking away Animate and the what are we doing now? Toon Boom. You know, I have it on good authority that Grease Pencil in Blender is actually I've used it and I like it. It's a different feel, but for the animators out there who are watching this, Grease Pencil Blender, it's free. Come on. Um, but yeah, so 7,500 average word count of a TOS. It would take you 76 hours to read every policy you agree to per year, right? So you're spending 2 working weeks doing that. Um, uh, and this would essentially like be Spark Notes. It would be TOSs for dummies. It would be a Wikipedia that I don't know what we would do if we would get the AI to read through it, if we would have like real people like Wikipedia editors go through the TOSs. But those would be solutions that we would solve with this TOS Spark Notes, and I think it would be actually useful to people. You could have like badges on different TOS Spark Notes, like, did you know that in the TikTok TOS, like it could basically the it has access to data like your sexual orientation, your immigration status, things that like maybe you shouldn't be comfortable with the Oracle having access to, right? So TOS Spark Notes, the Algo Speak Dictionary. Um, you read the contract. Now we're decoding the language, right? What are your favorite Algo Speak words? Y'all are on TikTok or Instagram, right? Have you come into contact with any of these? Do you have examples of of seeing words that aren't words? Yes, no, maybe so.
Yeah, for sure. It's crazy. Well, I like that it's like there's spoken euphemisms and then there's like the written ones, where like it gets leady with it. But the pew pew is fun. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's all like that. It's all like weird and grating and dehumanizing.
yeah, it's dehumanizing, and it's like I see people that like I really trust their content, and I've seen their content just be kind of like declawed through the use of algo speak because they're like risking their survival by saying gun instead of pew pew, right? Because if you're making your money from your, Patreon subscribers and through your YouTube ad revenue and through your TikTok account, uh, being shadow banned could be the difference between paying rent this month, So, specifically off the top of my head, like when like there's a journalist Taylor Lorenz who posts great meme content and then also like really good kind of like deep dives and interviews into different topics. Actually, a lot of the Section 230 content comes from Taylor Lorenz being inspired by some of her video work, and she like just completely censors words that feel like when she won't say sex worker, like the like sex is like completely censored, right? And it's like we're all adults here. We're watching content that is like uh, entirely educational, politically educational, right? but somehow we're still beholden to the algorithms like modesty or whatever, you know. Um, this tool would be essentially similar to the TOS. Like we would like kind of like a Urban Dictionary style set up this AlgoSpeak dictionary, and then it might even have like a translation tool or a browser extension app that goes along with it that detects the AlgoSpeak and shows what people actually mean. And it's not just like words like accountant for sex worker. It's like sometimes it's emojis, uh, sometimes it's emojis that mean specific things, you know? Like if it's a falling leaf emoji or if it's a smoke emoji, it means somebody's smoking marijuana or something, you know? And you might be like, well, wouldn't this just show uh, the platforms like what people do to work around this language? And it's like they already know this. They're setting up the playing field for people to do this. And whether people are self-censoring or they're like infiltrating their own like doing like some weird guerrilla moderation through like seeding their own algo speak words, it's like I think understanding that we shouldn't want to head into the world where we're using algo speak for everything. That is definitely like mid stage uh like authoritarianism, right? So that level of self censorship shouldn't be a thing that we do. But right now it is, right? So uh what is this quote that I have here? Oh, the algorithmic imaginaries, right? We have like folklore that's now set up surrounding how the systems of the site actually work, right? So we may even be like limiting ourselves through a false understanding of what these websites are. Um, Deprogram Grandpa. Uh, and I'm gonna do something real quick so that we don't get we don't get cut off because the poll is supposed to end in 2 minutes. But if I wasn't able to stream today, so I want to extend it to later tonight. Um, so let's extend it to 8 p.m. tonight, and then we'll do that. Five. All right, cool. We got more time on it. Um, yeah. So the poll ends at 8 p.m. tonight. Deprogram Grandpa. What were we doing with Deprogram Grandpa? Um, you've read the contract. You've decoded the language. Now we're recognizing the framing, right? So deprogram Grandpa. Tasia presented this one. They talked about it a little bit. I'm going to butcher it. I wanted Tasia to take the floor on this one, but they're probably doing something better and cooler today. Maybe going skiing. I don't know. So this one's might be a browser extension, might be a website. We don't know yet, but it detects bias framing in news articles. In this one, in Tasia's idea, was specifically Fox, but I think it could be like all state regime or corporate owned media. And it offers rewritten sort of neutralized versions on the page. I know there's a site that does something similarly that offers like kind of like the bias of specific articles. I think it's called Grounded or something. I'll let Tasia watch the video later and then pitch this idea if they drop in later. Technically, there is the Manifest V3 browser extension that is similar to this. This is what the New York Times editorial tools do, but they invert it. So it's like it only helps editors, right? So we would make this like customer facing, user facing, right? Public. And then this mobile OBS tool, which is the idea that I threw up last week that didn't get picked, but uh, I want people to be able to live stream with real production value from their phones, right? Right. And this is like a solution that's it's gonna be a hard build, but it's something that's worth building, right? Um, so it goes beyond sort of like the streaming app of it all, and it's more so about democratization of broadcasting infrastructure, right? We're not building the entirely like Twitch platform, we're building the tool that allows you to stream on Twitch from your phone, right? Which you can do through Twitch proper, but like OBS is like gives you access to your own sort of creative tools. Um, we're not trying to migrate a lot. We're just trying to replace. Uh, anyways, uh, we're yeah, mobile web app, WebRTC video stream, Canvas API for compositing overlays, WebSockets for alerts, chat integration, state management, and it's not something that's put out by TikTok or Meta, right? Um, so yeah, what these all are is middleware, right? That's really what we're building this week. Uh, they're modules of a single umbrella concept, right? So if you had to name what they build together, it would be a personal middleware layer for the internet. Um, we're not building new platforms that might feel like it with the TOS Spark Notes and the Algo Speak dictionary. But these aren't platforms. We don't need another platform. We don't need a new ideology. We just need a set of lenses that sit between the user and the systems that they're already using, right? That's kind of the spiel. So yeah, again, these projects at a glance. We got legal, linguistic, narrative, production, and now, if you made it to the end of class, it is time to vote. And you can add suggestions for your own projects. If you have ideas that you want to share now, feel free to take the floor. I do have to leave in like 10 minutes to start packing to drive up to the bay, but feel free to chime in. Thanks for watching, y'all. I'm gonna stop recording right now too. So if you're watching the recording, thanks for watching.